what did you do at school? Were you mathematically inclined?
I'd say probably history, maybe a bit of German, bit of English, geography, that sort of thing.
All right. So
Yeah.
you were leading towards what's now your passion anyway.
Yeah.
Geography is generally from a love of travel,
Yeah.
and history is generally an inquisitive mind.
Yeah.
So all of those things are pluses, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so you've probably given me a reasonable picture of your interests in just those simple questions.
Yeah.
And as an employer, I'm starting to think, what sort of peg do I put this, what sort of hole do I put this square peg in? And that's what job interviews are all about.
Yeah.
If you're a square peg, and if you've got a square hole to put it in.
Yeah.
If you've got a round hole, there's not much point in talking to a square peg.
Yeah.
So George tells me you've had some experience in job interviews, but you haven't had a regular success.
No, I think somehow I've timed it when the market's gone completely, I don't know. Fallen out of the bottom's fallen out of the market as far as I can tell. And I'm getting, hundreds of, up to 1,400 people applying for the same job I am, kind of thing.
Sure. Well, and just because there's a lot of people applying doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
It's a matter of your selling yourself about being able to do the job. So when you apply for a job, you look at what the job description tells you about the job. And does that help you in formulating how you're going to present yourself?
Yeah, I think so, probably. Yeah, I think.
Have you developed a curriculum vitae for yourself?
Yeah, well, I've had a resume for quite a while.
Right. Okay. Well, when you read back, when you look at your resume and think about what it's telling the person who's looking to employ you, is it somebody you would employ?
Sadly, I'd probably say I'd be maybe a bit further down the list than I'd like, maybe.
Well,
there'd probably be a few gaps in there. I'd have to explain away.
If that's your view about your own resume,
it's probably not going to help
the view of the employer.
Yeah.
So it means you've got to address the resume, not falsify it, but put some explanation in to fill those gaps. For instance, if you've had ill health for a period, you might have a gap of 12 months, 2 years, where you can say, well, that was because I was doing X, Y, and Z. Or if you've got a history in serving burgers at McDonald's, but not a history in data entry, the history at McDonald's is not irrelevant because McDonald's gives you a good ground set in turning up on time, timely, being well-dressed, people communication. You might be serving crummy food, but you're doing it well. Okay. So your employer he will have in his mind the sort of person that he's looking for or she's looking for, through the experience of the last person they had in that job.
Yeah.
So if you're given the opportunity to ask any questions, things you might think about asking is, why did the previous person leave?
Yep.
Right? And if his answer is, well, she went on maternity leave, you're fairly confident you're not going to be a problem in that regard.
Yep.
So that's a +1 for you.
Yep.
Right? If he says that you never turned up on time, what do you think the fee for that would be?
Pardon? Sorry, there's a glitch there.
That's all right. If he said that the employee never turned up on time, didn't keep regular hours, what's the remedy to that?
Well, probably you do make sure you turn up on time.
It in many respects, the secret to getting a job is demonstrating that you have respect for the firm and its need for your employment, as well as expecting them to honour their obligations to you, respect you, not put you in harm's way, to train you in their operational procedures. This is a two-way street. So you are just as entitled as the employer to know what the job is about. If you're going into data entry, you might want to know whether you're in an open shed with a metal worker using an angle grinder behind you, or whether you're going to be sitting in an air-conditioned office somewhere, right? Because you can enter data in both environments, but one's a hell of a lot more comfortable than the other.
Actually, the angle grinder would be probably better for my health. Strangely better for me.
Well, bear that in mind. Maybe you say to him, you can do some angle grinding when you're not entering data. Twin skills. So, something else to remember is that oftentimes the interviewer is time poor. So being on time and being conscious of the time that they're providing to you is important. Because if you arrive late, they may not give you the chance to make up for that. Always dress for the position you're going to. So as a lawyer, I'll turn up in a suit and tie every time because that's what I expect a lawyer to look like. Right? If I turn jeans and a t-shirt, they'll tell me to go back to the beach. You don't get the job. Data entry, what do you think the uniform for a data entry person might be?
I'd probably go suit. I don't know, tie optional maybe.
There's nothing with overdressing for the position. Just remember. If they employ you in a suit, they'll expect to see you in a suit. Unless they say to you, the dress standard here is smart slash open neck shirt. So they're the sorts of simple little things that you can keep in mind. And you've got a beard, so always
probably get a haircut before I get a job interview type of thing.
Right. And make sure your breakfast isn't in your beard. Right. So they're just hygiene things that an employer might pick up. All right. Now, whereabouts do you live?
Ashgrove.
Sorry?
Ashgrove.
Ashgrove. Okay. So if you get a job interview at the Gap, you can get to the Gap on public transport?
Easily.
Okay, the job interview is at Cleveland.
I'll probably catch the bus into town, wander up to the train station and catch it from there.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So at the interview,
Yeah.
it's an hour to get there. The boss is going to say, how'd you get here today?
Yeah.
And you'll explain that to him, and he'll say, how reliable will this bloke be in getting to Cleveland by 8 a.m. every day on that sort of transport? Now, you can beat him to the punch and say, I know I live at Ashgrove and I know the job's here in Cleveland, but I've worked out the transport system and I can be here every day at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you can beat him to the punch, tells him two things. You've done your homework and you want the job pretty badly.
Yeah.
All right. So what sort of tools do you need for a data entry position?
I probably need a half decent computer with some reasonably up to date software and probably internet connection and all that.
Yeah, okay. And there's a potential at the present time that you could be working from home doing the entry.
Yeah.
So do you have those sorts of tools available to you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, if you tell your employer that if there's another pandemic, I can work from home, that's a positive also for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about you just tell me why I would employ you as a data entry person?
That I could probably, maybe not as quick as some, but I'm probably almost more accurate, more pedantic. I know how to do a lot of research, I think, quite well, and maybe work out how to do it if the entries end up being in, say, sort of multiple languages. I know how to handle all that stuff without,
How about you do this exercise?
Yeah.
After this and for the next time you meet with George, rough out on either type it on your computer or rough it out on a sheet of paper, all the positives that you have to say to an employer about why they should employ you.
Yeah.
One of the things you said to me is that you were quick to research. How necessary is research if you're doing data entry?
In case I have to fix up entries, make sure they're all basically ensure accuracy, quality control.
Okay. Then the point that you want to talk about is not research. You want to talk about accuracy. You want to talk about proving the fact of the data. So if entering invoices, for argument's sake, and something doesn't look right, that the GST hasn't been added, if you can identify that and say, oh, I've got a problem here, doesn't look as though the GST's been added, we'll have to check this out. That's going to save a problem later on down the track. And the boss will think, hey, that's pretty good. He's being proactive rather than reactive.
And I'll probably try and make sure that a lot of the stuff isn't the grammar on a lot of your whatever's, say, letters and signs and what have you, makes sort of proper English sense and not like too many things I've seen around the place that it isn't quite garbled and.
Sure. What do you understand by data entry? Are you looking at data entry as being filling in information from a text or from some sort of written document, or or are you looking at data entry as numbers in a spreadsheet, invoices into a accounting program?
Probably a mixture of all sorts of data entry, word processing. That'd be all sorts of. It'd be invoices. It'd be probably I'll be maybe handle some of the letters and correspondence as well, and that kind of thing. Make sure that's all up to a good standard.
Well, again, as part of the homework, if you like, list out the different types of data entry that you think you can handle. Because if the boss is looking for somebody to handle loading of invoices, and you're talking to him about texts, letters, and sorts of things, he's going to go, well, this fellow isn't really what I want. He doesn't know how to load invoices. It's all about you telling the boss how you can.
I can probably handle both sides of things, maybe.
Yep. Well, you got to tell him you can handle both sides of things.
Yep.
And this is where a resume, an updated resume, will come in handy. If you do a Microsoft course on how to use their latest Word program, those sorts of things should be on your resume so that you can see that you're keeping up to date.
Yep.
All right. Now, if you want have a look at your resume and update it and send it to George. George, if you wanted to share it with me, I could review it.
Yep.
All right.
I can do that, no problem, Glendon.
Okay. So, Rhys, above everything else, at the interview, you have to appear to be positive, attentive, respectful, and keen to learn.
Probably a bit more confident, I hope.
All of those things make for confidence. Right? If you're sitting there saying to the boss, I'm the man for the job, and I can tell you why I'm the man for the job. You list off A, B, C, and D, and they're all the points that he wants to hear. Right? From his point of view, he's then going to look at you and say, is he going to fit into that hole? Is he a round peg or is he a square peg, and do I have a round hole or a square? So that's the bit we can't necessarily help you with. That's the evaluation the boss has to make. All you do is say, I can be a round peg or a square peg, whichever one you want. Are there any questions you'd like to ask me?
So what kind of stuff would you expect from an entry-level employee?
From an entry-level employee, the first thing I'd ask them is, which school did you go to? What grades did you get? And what were your strongest subjects? We've spoken about what your strongest subjects were. The school doesn't matter where you come from. In Brisbane, the school is going to carry with it a reputation. So if you say to Churchy, some people go, wow, Churchy, great. Whereas I'd go, I've lived near Churchy and I know those little bastards aren't all the angels that they pretended. Telling me you went to Churchy.
I'll edit that little bit before I present it to the team, I think.
See, I went to Cooperoo State High. When people say to me, where'd you go to and where'd you do your uni? They look at me strangely and I say, I went to a state school and I didn't do uni. I did an apprenticeship, which is called articles. And qualified to be a solicitor through that course. Now, that course isn't available anymore, but it was the acceptable course, before university started offering law degrees. And oftentimes I get looked on as a lesser being because I went to state school.
Yeah.
Hasn't stopped me. I've been in the game for 40 years.
Yeah.
I'm now consulting to other lawyers need my help to make their business run.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of message you've got to carry across to the boss. Now, if he's from a GPS school, then somebody from a GPS school, he's possibly going to favour. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yep.
If he's from somewhere like Churchy, same thing.
Yep.
They all tend to club together.
Yep.
If you haven't got that sort of competition against you, then it should just be based on what you can do for the boss.
Yep.
Right? Now, you're not always going to be able to know which school they went to unless they're wearing a school tie when they come to the interview.
Yep.
Right? And I don't think it'd be proper to ask the interviewer which school they went to either. So, but even in the back of your mind, if there's a couple of trophies from the Open 15s up on the cabinet, you know, the private school boy who played in the Open 15, so he'll be privileged.
Yeah.
So you knowing that fact, have to say to yourself, now how do I convince him that I can do it?
Yep.
Right? And for them, I think for people in that position, I think you have to say, oh, I see you played in the Open 15s. Yeah, which school did you go to?
Yep.
And he'll suddenly go, oh, this bloke's recognised my historic past as a fullback, a nudge, open. And that's one of the ways you get around them.
Yep.
You give them the accolade that they think they deserve.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I can't think of any at them.
No.
Basically, what kind of duties would you expect the kind of
Good.
data entry kind of? Would you expect them to do? Say, would they be doing errands and all that, coffee making, tea making, and all that kind of stuff as well?
That's the first question when you're invited. That's the first question that you should ask if it hasn't been explained to you.
Yeah.
What's the job description entail? I don't want to get coffee for a half a dozen people or something like that. If that's what's entailed, but I'm looking to work up the ladder. I'm hoping that I'll be making me coffee someday.
Yep.
So that's the first question. And preparation for the job interview.
Yep.
When you've seen the job and what it's talking about, research the company and know something about the company.
Yep.
Make yourself a list of about 3 or 4 questions that you can ask at the end of the interview that tell the interviewer that you've been listening, that you want the job, and that you're prepared to work.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, how do you feel now?
Probably a bit better clued in, I hope. I think, Thanks very much.
Yeah, look, that's fine. George will be able to tell you the same things as I have, but I've been as a third party because your interviewer is always going to be somebody you don't know. It'll be a third party. So it's giving you the experience to talk to somebody who you interview with. All right? So even just that part of today's discussion is a further step in the direction of getting it.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, George, I think Rhys is probably itching to get on with what you've got planned for him this afternoon. He's bored to death with talking to me. I'm sure of that. So, Rhys, take care.
Yep.
Make the most of your opportunities, and if you do that little bit of homework that I suggested, I think it'll help you get straight in your mind what you've got to do to be the bed without shape. You'll fit any hole that they care to give you.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Glendon. Much appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your time once again to help Rhys and myself to help Rhys get through to where we need to get him. And thank you, as I said, mate. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
No, that's fine. Look forward to doing it again sometime.